just getting rid of this thing. Okay, guess what? I'm here. You're here. We're all here. And I am making, so this piece is stunning. I got it from a really sweet person. It was in her family for, ooh, I'm losing it. It was in her family for a very long time. It's actually from the UK. And she needed a very good cleaning and sanding, like a good scrubbing, and then a sanding, and then another scrubbing. So that's what she received. Also, I'm going to show you how to make a paint wash. It's so easy. It's very easy. Now I'm going to make a little bit extra because I already made a little bit to test it out last night. So what I'd like to do is probably way too much, honestly. That could be, nah. You know what? It's about, I do 1 part paint to like 3 parts water. So I'm just going to go add the water and then I'll shake this up and I'll show you what it looks like. And then we will get started. It's so easy to do. I did this on nightstands, not nightstands. I did this on um, little end tables recently. And also, I can't talk a lot. I like got to get going. If anyone pops in and you have any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, wow. A bird just almost flew in the garage. So I like to use resealable containers. I also, this gelato, want to sponsor me? Come on. Like, I'll be sponsored by Talenti. Um, I okay, so I cleaned it really well. I sanded. I cleaned it again really well. I left it, it's rustic. There's like some nicks in here. I want all of that look. I want her to be this rustic queen. Do you know what I'm saying? So I left it. Like there's a little, she's like missing a little thing here. I don't care. This drawer, you got to lift up on it. It's what it is. This is solid wood, gorgeous. Ooh, you know what I'm wondering if I should tape off? Should I tape off or not? That is the question. You know what? I'm not taping off. I'm just going to go for it. So sometimes you find pieces that are so old and so amazing, and like this drawer, it's not fixable. It's the whole thing solid wood. It's what it is. You just lift up on the drawer. I'll make sure I put that in the listing description. I'm gonna want to keep her. That's what's gonna happen. I know how it's gonna go. I'm gonna redo her, and I'm gonna want to keep her. Okay, so we have our wash. I have a damp rag. Let me move this out of the way. I'm gonna be standing up, so I'm gonna raise this a bit so y'all can see. And then, what am I going to apply? I'm going to apply the brush, or I'm going to apply with a foam brush. I used a foam brush before. I think I'm just going to go with the foam brush because it's easy, you know? Um, I'm going to go back there and I am going to leave it like this so you can, I've been so busy, but you know what? It's really good. Actually, I'm going to get on the ground. So, no, I'm going to start on the top. I don't know what I'm doing. This barely, this piece barely fits here. Okay, so what I do is I have the rag ready to go. It's wet. It's not soaking wet. It's just damp. Do you know what I'm saying? I barely have enough room to work here. I've gathered some things. We have a lot of projects to work through, so I'm going to be uploading on YouTube. So definitely feel free to subscribe. Now I'm going to see if I added enough paint and it's dark enough for what I want, but I think, yeah, it's perfect. I am not going for a perfect looking piece. I'm going for incredibly rustic. I want a hint of this color and this wash. It's not going to be perfect. There's nothing about this piece that's going to be perfect. It's not perfect. I don't want it perfect. I want this super rustic vibes. Do you know what I mean? Just rustic vibes. Ooh. The only thing when you do a paint wash is you can splatter it everywhere. So just be forewarned. And then also, I also like to work kind of fast. If you notice, I'm kind of like putting it on because I want to wipe it back before it starts to dry too much. But because this is paint and not stain, it really doesn't matter in another way because you can just, ooh, see, that's why I covered this stuff because I'm literally splattering. You can finish your thought. You can take a fine mist, a spray bottle or something and just, or not even, just the damp rag and wipe it back and go over it because it is paint. And this is chalk paint, by the way. This is not a latex paint product. It's chalk paint. So chalk paint can be reactivated with water. That's really important to know. I'm using Dixie Belle in French linen because I wanted to tone down a little bit of the gold kind of in the pine, in the piece. So I'm choosing to go with this. Now, this could evolve. We could put this on and then be like, you know what? We want more. We want another color. I don't know. But my goal was with this piece. Okay, let's see. Ooh, it looks so good. I may have wet it a little too much. My goal is to get this piece done as quickly as possible, and either I'm keeping it or selling it, but either of the two, it is going to be one of the quickest flips that I've done. So that was my absolute goal. I was popping on here to film it as a quick flip. Okay, so now we get to see what this looks like. Now I'm not doing it perfectly even either when I'm pulling it off. I have to look at it. I took kind of a lot of it off, and I'm not sure if I want to take that much of it off. I think I want to leave a little more on, but I'm not sure. So let's see. I want some of the original wood underneath to show through. No, that's what I'm going to do. I'm adding a little bit more paint in. I want it to be a little tiny bit thicker, a little bit more pigmented. So when I wipe off, a little bit more stays on. It's kind of one of those things that you just give it a shot and then see how it goes, and then you can always go back. Another thing I could do is I could leave it set on there for a little tiny bit longer and then wipe off. No worries. Ooh, is it splattering? I'm just making a bit of a mess today, but it's okay. Okay, it looks cool. I splattered it on here. It's the tone how did that happen even? I don't understand. The lid, I must not have had the lid on totally. Okay, so we're going back. This is more pigmented because I added more paint. And I'm going to let it sit on there a tiny bit longer before I wipe it back. Again, it's a process. There's no perfect process per se, Well, there can be. Perfect? No. There can be a process that you have in place. Perfect. Things are never, honestly. When are they ever perfect? And do you want them perfect all the time? I don't think so. That's way too much pressure and stress, honestly, that you're putting on yourself. And trust me, I know. We're releasing perfectionism, and you know what? Painting is a really great way to do that. It can be deeply healing in many ways, and not being a perfectionist while you're painting is a learned process and one that has served me very well, whether I have a paintbrush in my hand or not. So I highly encourage painting to heal, painting to explore creativity and this abundance of, I don't know, painting is a spiritual experience for me. It really is. I mean, I say it, I'm laughing, but I truly mean it. And it can be that for you if you want to try it. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. A lot of what we do can be a spiritual experience if we tune into it. And we're just the tiniest bit mindful. Okay, so there we go. You know what else I'm wondering? This rag. It's a little, I want something. I'm going to try a different rag. I'm going to try this rag. I know what I want. I want something that's a little textured, so when I wipe it back, it's not wiping it back perfectly even, if that makes sense. I want a little bit of the unevenness. Looks like it's gonna pour. Maybe it is. Is there anyone in here? I'm gonna let that sit for a minute while I come see. Last time there was, and I felt bad. I didn't acknowledge and say hi. Honestly, the other thing is like I can't see the if anyone's even in there from this far away. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing. If I'm wetting it too much, then I'm pulling kind of a lot of it off. I'm pulling a little bit more off, I think, than I want to. I'm not sure. Let's see. I do want to see the wood grain underneath, so that's the whole point. I want it to look like it's just aged and very rustic. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Aged and rustic. So we want some of that wood grain to show through. We don't want to completely mask. This can just, I did this on these two IKEA stools that were kind of trashed. Someone used them for painting and whatever, which was fine. They're wood. And they threw them out and I grabbed them and I did a wash. I like that. That's what I'm going for. That's how simple. I did take off a little bit here. You can go back if there's a couple areas you just want a little bit more on there. There's no worries because this is not a like perfect thing. You can just go back and if you want to put a tiny bit on in a certain area, you can, and then move along. You know what I mean? We're not spending a lot of time on this piece. That's why I did spend time sanding for sure. Let me angle it down a tiny bit because I'm going to be working down here. But it's not a perfect process. Now for this underneath edge, I'll wipe it back a little. Who cares? I want to make sure I get this edge. I don't want to leave, that gold on here. Now, if you love that, I do like it too. Don't get me wrong. I like the way I debated when I sanded it back, just leaving it alone as is. But I decided to go in this direction because I just wanted to. So I had just done those IKEA stools and I really liked the way they turned out. So I decided to try it on this. It is very watery because we did. Oh, I didn't put I always paint on a tarp, and I kind of forgot. We're in the middle of it, so we're just gonna keep going. I'm gonna put it on the legs, just this one leg that I can reach, and then I'm gonna wipe it back a bit. I want to do the whole leg though, so let's get it in there. And yeah, sometimes you crawl around on the floor. That's okay. It's all good. I don't think I'm painting the whole underneath either. I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to come in and do this. Okay, so I'm going to come in and do this edge. I'm going to do the other leg too while I'm at it. This is really a gorgeous piece. It's just solid wood, and I adore older solid wood pieces. And she's very rustic. She's been around, she's lived her life. And she still has a lot more life left in her, which is why we are doing what we're doing, because she will still be around in someone's space. If it's not mine, it'll be someone else's. Even though, honestly, I do adore this piece. I think I just got my hair in paint. I normally wear hats. I'm breaking all kinds of my rules today. I don't have rules. I don't have strict rules. I'm joking. But I do wear a hat typically, definitely when I'm priming. Okay, so since this is a little bit to get it in there, I'm just going to apply it on this little area first because you got to kind of work it in there. And again, it's very drippy because of the high water content because we diluted it. You can do this with color. It doesn't have to be neutral. It looks super cool. Okay, on the drawers, I want it to, oh God. I'm going right over hardware. I don't care. I already did a trial run on a drawer yesterday, so I kind of know what I'm going for. I recommend that, especially if it's something that you haven't done before. Like I've never done this on a big piece of furniture. Take a drawer and work it out on the drawer before you go in on the entire piece. I do recommend that. I'm going to go just on the top of this, I think. Am I going to do that edge? I kind of already did the edge. Kind of dripped over the edge a little bit, which is fine. That works. That's literally it. I don't want a lot of vertical drips, so I am going to get this edge as well. Let's just keep, let me see here. I don't want, oh yeah, I got to wipe it back a bit. I don't want it getting, yeah, no. I can't leave it on too long. I want to wipe it back and have it a little transparent. So I'm going to go in here and wipe this edge back since I did that first because it is drying. It is paint, and chalk paint dries pretty quickly. And since again, I'm going for a wash, I don't want, oh, I forgot to do it here. I don't want it to be super opaque. I want the transparency. So we just got to make sure that we wipe it back a little sooner, you know? Okay. I'm also going to wipe it off. Did I even mean to get it on there? I don't know. I'm going to wipe it off this. I did that first. And I think I just dripped on this other part, which is no biggie. Do you see what I'm talking about? Isn't that kind of cool? I love this. I really love it. Let me do this edge. I really don't want to drip it all inside, if possible, so I'm not going to go super thick on there. Just doing this little edge. Okay. There we go. And we get the drips. I want to cover in. I couldn't remove this hardware easily at all. It was like secured. Since this is a super old piece, it wasn't like screwed in like a lot of more, not even contemporary, but like, I can't speak. This is a much older piece. So the way it's secured, it had pins, and I didn't want to mess with all of that, removing that. So I went ahead and left the hardware in to not mess with the pins and then not be able to get it back in, if that makes sense. So yeah, it did make sense. I don't want to mess with the hardware. I like the original hardware. I'm leaving it on there, and it is what it is. It has natural patina. And again, we're going with this rustic vibe, and the piece is an older piece and it's not a perfect piece. So I want to keep that look with the hardware, which means we just keep the original, and that's perfectly cool. Also, there's this edge. I'll show you. Hang on. Let me just get this on. Get it in there good. If you get some on the hardware and it dries a bit, doesn't matter. This is, again, water-based paint. We're going to be sealing this piece. So it's not like we're not going to seal it. We're definitely going to seal this piece. But in the meantime, let's just do the drawers. We are going to get in here. Yeah. Painting can be time consuming, but lots of times, you know, depending on how detailed you're going with the paint, what kind of paint it is, all that stuff. But also, I want to get the edge. Also, your prep can take the longest. Like for this, cleaning it and sanding it, picking the piece up, getting it home, all that stuff. That all adds up into your time when you're refinishing. It's not just, people just think it's like, you know, they don't realize you just slap some paint on a piece and you're done. Because they see you do it and they're like, oh, it's so fast. Yeah, sometimes the painting process doesn't have to be super lengthy, but it's all the time that went into it before. It went into, you know, the gas that you put in the vehicle to go pick up your piece and like all the stuff. It's not just putting the actual paint on, it's supplies. It's the cost of the paint. This is very good quality paint. I choose to use better quality paint on my pieces and better sealant and all that on my pieces. So therefore, that goes into it too. Brushes, gloves, everything. Your cleaner, all of those things. Okay, so this is fun. So now I love this part, honestly. Like, I think it's magical. Super fun. You wipe it back. I love how nothing is too perfect. I love that. I love that look. And some of you may really not like this look, and that's okay too. We don't have to all like the same things, you know? Not at all. Okay, so going in a little bit more here. I have so much left over. I did not need this much for this piece. So I will be using it on another piece. And since I love this color and this wash so much, it's literally not a problem. Look at how much is left. You can see most of the containers left. Since it's a wash, you don't use that much. You're diluting it. Also, if you have like little bits of paint left here and there, this is a great way to use up paint in your container, do a wash, and use up every single bit. I do not waste paint. I don't waste it. If I waste paint, it's accidental. I spill it, whatever. But like, I don't waste paint on purpose. I try to use every bit. I love it. This is a little bit, not quite so yellowy. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's good. That's how easy it is. I mean, it might seem too simplistic to you, but honestly, I just did it on those stools that could be used as, I did these really cute two matching IKEA stools that I mentioned, and they could be used as, if you have a low profile bed, they could be plant stands, they could be end tables, they could be nightstands. Well, not end tables per se, unless you had a really low sofa, but they could be nightstands. And I love that. I love finding furniture that's multi-purpose, you know? It's my favorite kind to find. The only thing I'm looking for at this moment are drips. The cool thing is too, when you use and you make like a wash, it can drip into the spots that you want to camouflage. Perfect. Honestly, this is so easy and yet can look cool when it's done. And like I said, I'm going to be sealing it in a matte finish to retain the look of just kind of an older piece. Oh, drips. See the drips? See these drips? You don't want the drips. Go back, wipe them off. This is something, since the hardware is left on, I normally wouldn't leave the hardware on. I would remove the hardware so then there's less potential for drips. But really it doesn't matter, because even if this were to dry down, because you can reactivate it with water, it doesn't matter. I just think it looks cool. How much time are we at? We're 25 minutes. Let's do the side together. Why not, right? The only thing that happens when it's a bit of a longer video is it has to process the upload time for the video processing. Not upload time, because it's already uploaded, but the video processing time takes a little longer. That's the only thing about doing longer videos. But I mean, honestly, I think they're fun. Like, some of my favorite content creators, I can't get enough. Like, if they upload a 30-minute video, I'm happy, you know? And of course, if you don't want to watch the full video, don't. Watch part of it and move along. You can see how I do it at the beginning. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You can see the sides are much darker. When I was sanding, I noticed that too, which is no biggie, because when you're doing a wash like this, so if, say, the sides are darker and you still want to kind of have it blend in more with the front, you can just put it on a little bit thicker, and I'm going to do the edge. I like to do the underneath edges, which I did, and then I wiped it back. I like doing the edges. That's it. So on the sides, you might leave it on a tiny bit. I see another drip. I'm going to go back on the front and make sure there's no drips, and leave it on a little bit thicker on the sides. It's another option. I really just want it to look aged. I love how this isn't perfectly level. Like, they are individual boards, 3 boards, and this sagged a little bit. I love that. I love the character this piece has. It is old, and she's beautiful. How long did that take us? Now, I'm not doing the whole back of the piece, am I? As I'm putting paint on. I didn't sand the whole back, because I didn't plan on doing the back. But I do need to do this side of the leg, because you can see it. I might end up just doing it. I'll see at the end. I am definitely doing the full legs. I always do the back edge too. Like this edge, I definitely do that. Now this was very dark. That's how easy it is. Just wipe it back. You know what? We're gonna do it. I didn't plan on it, but I'm gonna do it. I mean, I've got plenty of this wash. Absolutely plenty. Cool. I hope you're doing well. Can I even turn it around? Barely enough room. Yeah, so it's sort of whitewashing. I just didn't use white paint. I used some French linen, which is a taupey neutral. But again, I love this over a stain. A stain is great. Stains are great. I don't have a ton of experience with them. I have some, a little, not a lot. And to me, it's like, it's definitely a bit trickier with how the wood takes the stain, all this stuff. How you have to sand to prep for the stain. Like with sanding, you're going to be working your way down in grit. So you're going to start with a coarser grit and you're going to work your way down to a fine grit. And you got to be really kind of particular about all that. And for this, I literally, like I said, I wanted to get this piece really done to flip it super fast. If I don't keep it, I don't think I'm keeping it, but you never know. And then for a quick flip. So for the quick flip, I just splattered it all on me. For the quick flip, it is getting it done quickly, and staining would have prolonged the process. In terms of dry times, chalk paint dries very, very quickly. Okay, let's do the last side. Now, after you do all this, if you, like I said, it dries down and you're like, oh, I want it a little bit lighter or whatever, you can always go back in with another coat. It's your option. It's your prerogative. Do you know what I'm saying? But for me, I'm pretty sure the way I'm already seeing this dry down, it's exactly how I want it. And you know what? Go with the drips. I did want the legs, since the legs seem to be a bit darker on the sides, I wanted it a little, put it on a tiny bit thicker so that I will wipe it back. I'm gonna let it sit a minute. This side was the darkest side for whatever reason, the way it aged, and it depends, like the piece, who knows where it was, if it got more sunlight on the other side, so it was a little bit lighter, and this side was a little darker because the way the piece was in the home, like so many things can affect also. Oh, crud, I'm doing the front accidentally. What am I doing? I already did that. Okay, so that's it. We wipe it back. This is the one side that I think I'm gonna do maybe a few layers because I want it a little lighter. So I might just leave that on there a tiny bit longer and then wipe it back. That way I won't wipe as much off. It'll dry on there a little bit before. A friend from Shannon from Pickin' Boots Vintage she was cracking me up. She posted on TikTok. She was like, why is it that typically on the fronts of pieces we paint side to side because we're with the drawers and stuff, and then on the sides she was like, do you normally go vertical or horizontal? And when I thought about it, I typically always go vertical, but weirdly with the grain you'd be going horizontal. And she was like, why do we do that? Why do we paint like horizontal and then switch to vertical? I know why I do it. I'm not doing it. I'm doing side to side. Why is that? That's so weird. Oh my God. Because I'm going with the grain. I'm making it look like stain. That's why I'm doing it. If I was painting this on the side, I would go up and down. Isn't that weird? But since I'm trying to mimic the look of like maybe a stain, I am going side to side because I'm going with the grain. But she asked, and I was like, everyone was like, most people, if you're painting furniture on the side, you go vertical and then horizontal on the fronts, which is interesting because if we're staining, you're going to go with the grain, which is side to side. Am I making any sense? What do you all do? Do you paint the sides vertical or do you paint them horizontal? Not an important question, but just, I'm intrigued. I want a little, this is very dark on the side, so I want it a tad lighter, just on this very side. I'm going to take a peek on the other side and see if it's similar-ish color. I love the way this looks. It is a form of whitewashing. Yeah, the other side is definitely lighter, so that's okay. I'm not going to wipe as much off these legs on the side. And same with this. I'm going to leave it. That's it. Let me turn her around so you can see. Thanks for joining me on this video. It's fun. Painting doesn't have to be super complicated, overly complicated. It can be simple. Give yourself the gift of sometimes doing things a little more simply, because honestly, I've been, sometimes you just feel like you're getting behind because you're doing more complicated. And sometimes you can simplify, have something turn out cute regardless, and it doesn't have to be a super involved process. It can be if you want it to be, but if you don't want it to be, it doesn't need to be. I see a few drips. This is how it's subtle. I see a few drips, so I'm going to go in. I'm going to get the drips. And then just take a look at it, and, if there's anything, I want this a little darker. I mean, a little lighter. It is darker. So I'll just put a little more on. And then let it sit on there. If you want it to be a little bit lighter, just put it on and let it sit. Let that paint percolate a little, and it'll start drying a little bit, so when you go to wipe it off, as much won't come off. But I really like seeing some of the natural wood grain coming through. I also purposely did not sand it perfectly. I did not want, I had some woodworking friends a while ago tell me that. They were like, if you want, even with staining, who they do some really rustic, really cool looking stuff. They're like, if you want to get a very rustic looking stain, don't sand everything so perfectly off underneath. Leave some of it, leave some of that old stain, and it creates texture and depth and everything. So you can do the same. I did that intentionally with this piece. So you see contrast in some of the colors. Okay, now I'm going to wipe this off. And if you want to pull a little bit more of it off, you can. You can just go back and wipe it back a little bit more. Like, I really love seeing some of this, the wood underneath coming through, like the knots and stuff. I think it looks super cool. That one leg, this one leg is very dark. I don't know why still. So I may just leave the paint on for like 5 minutes, pop off the line, and just wipe it back. But that's it. Bring you in a little closer. It's an easy whitewash look. And again, you don't have to use white paint. You can use another color. This is French linen because I wanted it to have a little bit of that. Oh, I made a mess. I wanted it to have a little bit to tone down. I didn't want a super white look. I wanted a little bit gray, a bit gray undertones, even though it was more of a taupe. French linen is like a taupey, neutral, cool undertones, I meant. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell, all the things. Until next time, take care of yourselves and peace.